Hey, what's up, ladies and guys? All right, real quick, this video is turning out to be a little bit longer than I anticipated because it's the full teardown of the 40M2 PRM Newage gearbox, the 3-speed gearbox. But it is pretty in-depth and pretty detailed. I'm in the process of editing it right now, and I don't want to delete too much of it because if anybody's taking this apart, they're going to need to know some of this information. So it is a pretty lengthy video. I hope it's not too long for you. I hope you do make it to the end, though. It would be much appreciated if you watched it to the end. And this is a full teardown and trying to find out what's wrong with it. So the reason I'm outside, though, is I'm having all these trees cut down tomorrow. All these big oaks behind me. They're over my pool and dropping a bunch of acorns over my pool, so it's going to make my cleanup a lot easier. Anyways, enough of that. Hope you enjoyed this video, and hope we make it to the end, and I hope you watched the whole series that I'm doing on the Amida Benford site dumper that I'm actually working on, which is right there. So I have the transmission out, and that's what this video is about, taking apart the transmission and inspecting the gears, bearings, and trying to figure out what's making that noise in there. All right, well, see you at the end of this video. Thanks again for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe and check out some of the other videos. All right, ladies and guys, welcome to this video. So this is going to be, I do believe, the first video of the actual rebuild or takedown, tear apart of the M4 transmission out of the Benford Amida or Amida Benford dumper I have. So I ended up tuning up my pressure washer, moved all my equipment to get it out of winter storage, tuned it up, changed the oil and the spark plug, cleaned the carburetor, put new fuel in it on my little DeWalt homeowner pressure washer. And that's what I'm going to use to pressure wash this little transmission before I take it all apart, because it is filthy, greasy, and I don't want to get all that contaminants on the inside. All right, well, let me hook up the pressure washer and I'll get this nice and clean, and then I will bring it inside and we will start disassembling it. I do not have any paperwork on this. I don't have an instruction manual. I have nothing. So this is going to be a very careful learn. And I'm actually going to be videoing it for my own knowledge, because I got to figure out how to put this thing back together once I figure out how to take it apart. It looks like there's a whole bunch of tiny little pieces in there. All right, well, let me get it pressure washed and we can get it back inside and dry it off. There's the actual gearbox right there. And the serial number, it's gonna be upside down for you. So it's a little 3-speed forward, 1-speed reverse manual transmission. And they're actually really expensive if you have to replace them. So I'm gonna pressure wash this and then we'll get it inside and we'll see if we can take it apart. So one thing I did not do before I took this out was I didn't drain the gear oil. And that's going to be a little bit more difficult now. So I have to figure that out. But I'm going to let it dry. It's all wet. I'm going to let it dry. And then we'll go from there. All right, here we are inside. You can see they have the clutch pedal lined up differently, so I got to make note of how that is, just so because they're fine adjustments. See all the teeth right there? This I pressure washed once I got it out. Once I get ready to put it back in, I'm hoping to paint it. And so what I'm gonna do on this table is I'm gonna drain it. And then once I drain it, I'm gonna put it over on this table where there's a lot better lighting for me to see what I'm doing. And then I will lay the parts out on this table, which is a sheet of plywood. And yeah, there we go. So let's drain the oil. The drain plug's down here, right there. And it's all new oil. I put it in last year and found out that this is supposed to be a dipstick. There's a hole drilled in it because a metal rod gets basically glued in here and it sticks down. I think it's 160 something millimeters. I said it in one of my other videos and there's a picture of it. And well, a picture of what it should be. And it's not there. The metal rod's not there. I was hoping that that metal rod is what all the shavings were in there, but we will see. We're gonna take this apart and fingers crossed, I have the right parts for it. I did find this online and there is a breakdown of all the parts that we're supposed to be finding in there. So my goal is just to drain it, get it apart, and then we will go from there. Curious to see how much wow, that's full of water. That's strange. Oh, because I pressure washed it. That's right. That's why I forgot. All right, so this is an 18 millimeter. But I'm curious to see how much metal's in there. So far, I don't see any in here. Nope, there's a little bit. So I'm gonna let that drain for a while. It's a thick oil, so it's gonna take a little bit. And then what I'm gonna do is once this is done draining, to dismantle it, I'm gonna put it on that table, and then I'm just gonna line the parts up on this table. And the main purpose of this video is so I can put this back together. Like I'm gonna be able to take the bell housing off, no problem. And take the cover off, and then from that point on, I have no clue. So it's gonna be in a, little by little, we'll figure it out though. So this should be the dipstick and it's not, because the dipstick is broken off. But I'm gonna take the cover off here while I'm waiting. And that'll take the shifter off. These are 11 millimeter. If you watch my first video, I actually made this gasket because I didn't have one. All right, let me show you inside. Let me show you what it looks like. So the shifter goes here, and this goes on top of this, and that's how it shifts. And so that looks like it's spring loaded, and that the shifter plate sits right there, and I just pop this up. So let's see. So in between those two washers with the bolts facing this way, I'm just gonna put that there for now. All right, so I'm gonna turn it, and you can see the gear is turning in whatever direction, opposite directions. This gear over here looks different. I don't know if it was machined different or if that is how it's not supposed to be that way. But these gears look perfect. Like I said, I've never been in here before, so. So right now it looks like it's in reverse, because if I'm turning this way, if I'm turning the out shaft clockwise, my engine side is going counterclockwise. So it must be in reverse right now. All right, well, let me switch over to the other table now. So one of the things I'm going to pay attention to is this orientation of this handle. Looks like the grease fitting is facing, this is from my knowledge, not for you guys. Everyone's going to be different, I'm sure. But my grease fitting is facing straight up. Actually, that grease fitting's, no, that should stay. Let's come over here. That's what operates your throw out bearing right there. See, I got to get to these screws to take this bell housing off. So I have a feeling I'm going to have to mess with this angle. So what I'm going to do before I do anything is I'm probably just going to make a mark and scratch this paint right there. So I know with this bottomed out, it's hitting, that line is hitting right there. But I'm hoping I can get in here to get these bolts, these nuts off to take the bell housing off without doing that. We'll see. So let's hope it's off a little bit, but it's close enough. But now listen to this, listen. Hear that noise? See, those are the gears that I'm thinking might be bad. That gear might be bad there, listen. So I think that's where the dipstick was. I don't know, oh no, the dipstick was over here. But yeah, see, hear it? That's the noise that we're trying to fix, and I think that's a gear. I don't think that's a bearing. So I might have to take this apart and then order some parts. So I really got to be thorough when I take this apart into order. So I'm sorry if I bore you. I might just fast forward through it all if it gets to that point, but I really got to pay attention to how I take this apart. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, because it's going to take like a month to get parts. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to take this bell housing off by getting access to these bolts back there. 14 millimeter. These have a real unique spring clip on there. There's one. See how that center pin actually goes in to the shaft there. All right, so this will allow me access, I think. 2. And the throwout bearing, the lettering is facing down, so I'm going to make a mark on the top. So that's how I took it off. No, still can't. It's that shifter. The shifter's in. I'm going to go put these on the table. I'm definitely not going to get to those top ones. All right, so I'm definitely going to have to take this off, or at least do this. All right, so it's actually not hitting back here. For my own notes, it is, stand by, it is 10, 11. I'm holding the arm back as far as I can, right there. And like I said, that arm is not touching the bell housing. So I'm measuring the back where the throwout bearing rests to the back on this side. Between 11 and 12 millimeters on the outside. Let me try this side. 12. Okay, so it's 12 millimeters from here to here. So that should allow me to take this off now. 10? Nope. Oh, that's right, 11. Well, oddball. Yeah. I got a contractor coming over too, so I'm gonna have to pause the video in a few minutes. Maybe that's gonna come all the way out. That might be a groove in there. I think it is. Yep, it is. All right, so now it should come off. There's actually a groove in the post I do. Yep, there it is. Okay. That's why I wasn't hitting it too hard. Oh, now I gotta take that off. So we put these things back together so we don't lose them. This yoke is in the way. So that means I gotta take this clip off. There's a little spring clip right here I gotta pop off to get me more room. There's that clip that I moved. I just slid it out of here so I have a little more play in this. All right, let's put this back over here. So I think I gotta take these off. Well, you know what? We're gonna take this off next. Let's start on this side. And we'll take this cover off. So we gotta take this off first. 19. That noise is definitely coming from this end. So there's a bearing in there. I see it. You know what? We're gonna do this end. I'm wondering if it's that bearing that's right there, because that's where the noise is coming from, right there. And that's a big bearing. So I gotta take all this off here. If I don't have to take the whole thing apart, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So there's a bearing in here, and that's where all the noise is coming from. Let me try to zoom you in, and I'm gonna get a light. See that bearing in there? See the ball bearings right there? That's where all that noise is. This is that gear that looks weird, and there's a bearing right there, and that bearing is held on by these bolts that go right through. Here's the end of the bolt. Here. I'm hoping I just got to replace this bearing because I know I have that bearing. All right, let me get you back over on the other side. So the problem with these is they have, like, there's only a tiny little bit sticking out of the bolt. There we go. Got that one. Or did I? Yeah, there's only a tiny little bit of that bolt sticking out. Because they have looks like a nylon washer on there. two. We got loose. So once you break them loose, the washer pushes. And the washer's taking up some of the space for the. There we go. I'm getting it. All right. Let's see if I can rip these off this way now. Is there any, before I do that, is there any difference? Yes. Okay. So this is what you got to pay attention to. There is a hole up here. There's no other assembly mark. All right. So when you put it back together, see this hole? That little notch? That's got to face up. Good to know. Oh, look, there's all metal in this. Whatever this little section is, there's all metal in there. Oh, that's how the oil gets in there. It splashes in, and that's full of metal. All right. Well, I'll show you in a second, hopefully. That's all chewed up right there. Oh boy. There's a retainer clip right here. Doesn't help that everything's turning. This is when having the right tool pays off. And I don't have it. Whew. Might need a new one. We'll see. All right, let's try to get that bearing out now. That bearing definitely has play in it. See it? Make it wobble it. So that's definitely the problem. But it changes that pitch if I push down on it or if I push up on it. Well, I don't want to have to take this whole thing apart just to get that off, but I think I do. Oh, pays to pay attention. Once again, take it easy. If it doesn't come out easy, it's not supposed to come out that way. There's a retainer ring. That makes it so much easier. These are 20 years old and they fall apart every time you use them. Here you go. Okay. Retainer. Now I bet you it comes right out. Wow. Alright, so that means this is not an easy fix. Alright. I wasn't paying attention, there were two long ones. Alright, here and here. Yep, okay. Oh, I gotta take this off. Y'all gotta remind me. Doesn't say anything about being a reverse thread. Is that reverse thread? Should be labeled. Untab the bolt. Untab the bolt through the output flange and slacken the bolt. Remove the bolt. How do you untab? So maybe that's $50. What is part number 50? Washer tab. So how do I untab that? I gotta bend that back out with something? There we go. All right, I untabbed it. Untab the bolt through the output shaft and slacken the bolt. Guess that means remove. That tab is supposed to be in that hole. Austin, you need to give me a hand.
I can't tell. Huh? I can't tell. What do you need help with?
This bolt,
It's too weak.
it's,
We need a vice in here.
we need a workbench that doesn't bounce around. I got the instructions right here. Doesn't say anything about being untab the bolt, the outer output shaft flange, and slacken the bolt. Remove the bolt, tab washer, large retaining washer, and pull off the flange. The splines of the flange are sealed with silicone. All right, it took my son to figure it out. I wasn't hitting it hard enough to get this bearing out from the outside. So this whole side doesn't even have to come apart. The only problem is now I ruined the seal here for the gasket. So I have no clue how I'm gonna fix that, but I'll deal with that after. Yeah, I may just fill it with silicone, spray it with brake cleaner, let it dry out. But this here, we're hitting it and it's coming out. We're prying on it and it's coming out. All right, ready? He's gonna catch it so it doesn't fall. Little by little. It's coming, right? There we go. So here's the roller bearings. Are they all in place? Still making noise. That's not the bearing. There's another bearing in there then.
You think that noise was coming from here?
It was. It was coming right from there.
Clearly not. It's clearly coming from down there.
Well, the clicking is that now.
No, that's coming from down there. Alright, good luck.
No, this is, oh, that's bad because I hit with a hammer. Yep, that roller bearing is good. There's a roller bearing in there. But I have a new one of. I have a new one of these. And when I go to put it back together, so I know this is bottomed right out, right up against the gear, right there. So there's still something, you can hear it in the bottom there. So that means I still gotta take this off somehow. All right, let me shut the camera off and I'm gonna give a little more thought here. All right, so the gearbox is all apart. I was able to get, I thought it was this bearing on that. And then I thought it was the needle bearings in there, and they're not. The problem is in the bottom. In order to get to the bottom, I gotta take this off, and this is the bolt. And you can hear it. Hear that clicking? That's what we're trying to fix. Anyways, I untabbed the washer. This is the bolt. It's 19 millimeters to 3/4. This is a washer. Behind there is a spacer that holds this flange on. And then I already took this off, but I can't slide this off. So this comes off, then I take this off, then I take the spacers off that are behind here, and then somehow I think there's a set screw on here, and then everything comes off this way. This bolt right there. So if I heat that, I'm only heating the head of the bolt. And as you can tell, it's seen better days. All right, guys, the census is in. I gotta put heat on this. Really don't wanna put heat on it, but I got no other option. I think someone put Loctite or something on that bolt. It is not coming loose. So here's my thought process on this. I'm gonna put some heat on it. I'm gonna let it naturally cool down. I'll put a little bit more heat on it, let it naturally cool down. I'll do that a couple times and I'll probably just fast forward through all that. And then I'm hoping that breaks it free. If there was Loctite or something like that in there. Now, one thing I know, when you put heat on, whatever you heat up expands. But I can't get access to the shaft that the bolt is threaded into. So if I just heat this collar up, that's not going to do anything. So what I'm attempting to do is just heat the bolt up also. And even though that's going to expand into the metal, I'm hoping that heat transfers into the metal, breaks the bond, and then we'll try it. Here we go. Gotta remember, it's hot too once you put heat on things. And I also don't have a good way to hold it. So I did something really stupid because I got really excited. I tipped this upside down to clamp it to the table. I found the dipstick in the bottom. It fell out. So definitely got the dipstick out. But you know what I did that was stupid? I touched that. Luckily I had oil on my fingers, but then I touched the hot collar there. So I got no more fingerprints. That hurt. Of course, I didn't have any kind of gloves on. And these are not heat gloves. As you can see, they're melted already, but whatever I had right here. All right, so I've clamped this down to hopefully give me better leverage. And now that it's upside down, you can definitely hear things are out of alignment. So now we gotta get this to stop turning. And to do that, I gotta turn that bolt this way. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take vice grips, put a screwdriver in there. Let's see, what does that do? Now take a 6-point socket, let's try it. Nope. Another piece of the dipstick. So how are we going to get that to stop? Oh, I got it. I got it. All right. That worked. Oh, my fingers hurt. All right, let me put all the torch stuff away. Do not touch hot things. Wow. But as I was saying, parts of the dipstick came out. So that's good, but that's what probably caused all the damage in there, was the dipstick breaking. All right, so let's get rid of some of these tools and get back on track. Oh, now it all comes apart. I gotta slow down. I don't know how this goes back together. Hold on. 3/4 inch. 19 millimeter half drive, 3/4 inch, half drive. Over there. 19 millimeter. 14. 14. All right, here we go. Let's put it back up this way. And the bolt, that washer is no good. That was just a like an anti-slip washer. Those 4 bolts came from the cover. That's coming from the cover. Now we're going to slowly slide this out. And this was held on with silicone also, it said. All right, there's no special way that that's on. Take the cover off carefully. Ooh, that's heavy. What's in it? All right, nothing. Just a dust shield. I think I have a new dust shield for it. The spacer, just like it said. All right, so let me go put this stuff over on the counter. Looks like there's a dust shield here and a dust shield here. Those would go like that. The spacer goes there. Oh, got another bearing there with a retainer clip. So how does all this come out? Well, let's follow the instructions. That's what we have them for, right? Whew, my fingers hurt. Don't take your eyesight for granted. It really not good when you start losing it. All right, undo the 5 U and F set screws and remove the rear cover and gasket. That had to be that. Slide the spacer off. That's over there already. Shaft is hot. Undo and remove the small bolt and plate retaining the selector shafts on the back of the gearbox. That would be those. Yep. Okay, so let's try to do that. Oh, the cold metal feels so good on my finger. The problem is I lost the socket. All right, so I gotta get a marker. Where'd my marker go? Did that. Undo and remove the small bolt and plate retaining the selector shafts on the back of the gearbox. Bolt, and those are the 2 selector shafts. All right, so I'm gonna turn this to show what's inside it first. So what they're talking about is I remove that bolt, and that holds this round rod in and the lower rod in, I guess. That would be that rod and that rod, and I guess these would slide out. Drive forward the upper selector shaft through the selector fork in front of the gearbox. The Welch plug seal in the end. Oh boy, I don't know if I have new Welch plugs. These are Welch plugs. The Welch plug sealing the end of the shafts will be removed in the process. Take care as the shaft passes through the fork that the detent ball and spring contained within the fork are not lost. Okay. Well, let's give it a shot. And this is an 11. Got the bolt out. I got it. Okay, so that slides out. So there must be two grooves on that rod, on those rods. So that slid out. No difference up and down. So now it says to carefully tap these out. And those are Welch plugs. They're press fit. So I guess I tap those out and those slide. Let's do the top one. There's the Welch plug that they were talking about. Let's do the bottom one. Bottom one, top one. Okay. Okay, let's see, what do I have to hit that way through right there? I'm basically just using a 6-inch extension. One of my lights. All right, gonna take that first one out. Gotta get a longer extension. All right, so inside here I felt, yep, and I just dropped it. All right, I felt something. There's the, I don't have a flashlight out here. So something fell in the bottom and I'm not sure. If it was that ball bearing or something else. I think it was a ball bearing. I mean, I think it was a spring. We're gonna leave that like that. Let's take this one out a little bit. Okay. No, this thing didn't come out. All right, so that ball bearing is there. There's another ball bearing inside the other piece in here. But I gotta figure out how to get this out of here. Here's the other ball bearing. Both are the same. Two Welch plugs. All right, so this has got to be the interlock plate. Oh, there they are. Okay, they're cotter pins. There's one cotter pin. I need one of my headlamps. That's what I need. Two cotter pins. Now we got to get the clevis pins out that those cotter pins held in. And the cotter pins on the lower side. So turn it this way. Cotter pin or clevis pin. clevis pin. And this plate is up like that. There's a little bit of wear on one side of the plate, on this side and this side. That's going to be on the drive shaft side, this side, for my future reference. Okay, this is the second one. So it was like that. Okay, like that. The longer neck one is on the bottom. This is all for my future reference. And the one that's FD229 is there's a top one from this perspective. And here is the spring for those 2 ball bearings. Okay. The gears look good. All right, well, I'm trying to jump ahead, but I can't. All right, undo the bolts and securing the primary shaft oil seal housing and lift the housing and gasket clear. What's that? They're not showing any of that. Remove the primary shaft. How? So that gear is part of the unit. This one. Interlock plate. That's called the interlock plate. Knock out the lower shaft and fork in the manner described above. Did that. Do not remove the clevis unless a new case is to be fitted or the clevis are damaged or worn. What is a clevis? Do not remove the clevis. Split pins through the 2 clevis and lift out the interlock plate. Knock out the lower shaft. Well, how'd you knock those out without? Those come out when these came out. Remove the primary shaft assembly. It may be necessary to lever between the main shaft and the primary shaft or to tap out the shaft using a soft drift. Should I take this clip off here? Well, we're going to. I can see. Oh, my fingers hurt. Years ago, I used to have a round piece of brass that I would hit instead of hitting the metal directly. And I don't have it. It's coming. Nice and easy. It's taking his bearing out with it, which is what I want. Oh, wait a minute. Are all of these sliding off with it? Oh, okay, they do all just slide right on and off. Okay. Yep. So the only one that this is pressed on is his last one. And the first one. Okay. Holy cow. All right, I'm gonna bring the camera over here. So when I turn this, depending on how this gear lines up with the bottom gear, I can move it. Same with this one and this one. So what basically all I'm doing is I'm gently tapping this shaft that goes through, and this is what's holding it in, this bearing. So all I'm doing is carefully hitting this, and little by little everything's sliding out. But I got to keep moving it because these will get bound up. And they said you got to keep moving this one too. This big gears don't go through this end. So they got to slide off basically. So what I'm doing is I'm hitting the shaft back in, and then that gives me more room before this binds to get this out. I think that's how it's working, because this is what I'm trying to get out right now. And that ain't moving. Shaft is moving, but the bearing is not. What engineers think of this stuff? This is crazy. All right, well, everything's free still, so I guess I could hit it more. See, so the shaft is going through, but it's not taking the bearing with it. I need like a bearing puller so I can grab that, but I don't have one. So let's send that shaft back through a little bit, carefully. All right, so that's all the way back in there. Oh, I could probably just hit the bearing right there. Let's see if I can just tap that bearing out. This is not going back together today. I already know that. It's coming. That was my hand. Smarter, not harder, people. Look at this. I'm hitting it that way. Guess what? I could take it out this way. I didn't know. That. Then that. That. Then that. Wow, talk about machine finish. Holy cow. That is like really tight tolerances there. All right, then this. Then that. I'm going to put this over there. All right, so now I can pop out that bearing. I'm gonna leave it for right now because I gotta do that lower one still. And that would make sense that that one's the worst because that's at the bottom. And this went through it. But we still got to find where all those little pieces went. Maybe in here? All right, so this one looks like it's going to be different to take off. All right, let's take this off first. That clip. You take these clips off, you got to hold on to them because they do have a tendency to go flying. What are the chances of that shaft just slides out? Slim to none. Oh, it moved. I got this outer clamp here on the bearing. I don't know if I want to take that off. Yeah, might as well. Why stop now? All right. There's that one. There's that one. What do you think? Think I have to knock out that Welch plug on the other side? There's a Welch plug here, but it says don't knock out the Welch plugs unless you need to. That's a big one too. I want to just get this bearing out. Because I don't have any Welch plugs, so I'm going to have to buy them somewhere. That works. That's coming out. Yeah. So close. You see in there? That's the bearing I'm pushing out. I still haven't found where those other pieces of metal came from. What do I have? Let me get a different screwdriver. I need something long, but not bendable. Careful not to bang up that gear. I'm trying to fix problems, not make problems. Well, let's worked on the other one. Let's hit this in. Ta-da! That's a tight fit. definitely hurts my fingers. Wow. Ah, metal slivers. Washer. It was bearing, washer, bearing, thin side in, that to that. I don't know what's going on with my lights. That. And that is super shiny in there. And the only other bearing that could be in there is this one. It's all full of metal though. All right, let's take this off. Maybe there's a, doesn't sound it. Sounds good. All right, hold on. That is full of shiny. So you can see all the little shiny in here. And this is the last gear. But I have not seen where all that metal came from, because this is a lot thicker. This is a dipstick. And that's a lot thicker than the metal that I took out of it. All right, well, let's not stop now with one gear left. Let's just take that bolt off and see if there's a needle bearing in there. That breaker is going bad. Keeps overheating or something. Add to my list. And see, that's nice and loose. Okay, so I won't know the torque specs putting this back on, but this does have play in it. Cotter pin out. Oh, it's just hand tight. All right, so that's good to know. It's keyed. There's a keyway. Little keyway right there. And there's no bearings. It's a brass bushing. Okay. Good to know. I did not find where all those metal shavings came from. In a way, that's not good. All right, I gotta get all this organized now. Somebody put all empty brake can cleaner cans empty on the wall. So I thought I had 3 full cans. I don't have any. I'm gonna have to use carb cleaner. I might just take this outside and pressure wash it. You got to be careful with these. They're threaded in, and if you thread them in or out, it messes with the adjustment. Those right there. I still haven't found what's wrong with it besides what you call it, the bottom. All right, well, I think I'm gonna leave this for tomorrow, and I'm just gonna take it outside and pressure wash it, and then I'll blow it off nice and dry. Let me check out some of the other parts here real quick. All right, I'm gonna leave this for tomorrow. I'm gonna take this outside and pressure wash this because there's a whole bunch of metal shavings in there. And I'm gonna go through 4 or 5 cans of carb cleaner trying to clean that when I could just pressure wash it. So I'll take care of that tomorrow. As for all the gears look good. I have not found what caused all those little shavings. That is what I am looking for. The only roller bearing in here is right there, and it is in perfect condition from what I can tell. But the bearings do look that size. And I am blind, and I don't have the other glasses on right now. And then all the, see, this is too thick. This is too big of a piece of metal. This is a dipstick. This is too big compared to what I found in it. That's a cotter pin. See, here's another piece of the dipstick. It's all thick, 1/8 inch, just like the hole that's in the cap. Right there. So that metal rod goes through that hole. So number 1, I can't figure out what's wrong, where that metal stuff came from. Number 2, I couldn't find any definite something wrong with it. Maybe because I had to hit these bearings, so maybe these bearings were bad. But I have new ones of those, so I'm not worried about that. I have a new needle bearing, so I'm probably going to put that in. And the biggest problem is trying to remember how to put that back together. Now, I did the video more for me to be able to watch it when I'm reassembling it. Depending on how hard of a time I have reassembling this is depending on how much detail I put in this video. Because this is not my profession. I'm a hobbyist. I like fixing things, hence the channel. So the way I'm doing it is not the manufacturer's way. I can promise you that. But the way I'm doing it is how I'm doing it, and I'm just trying to fix the machine. Worst case scenario, I have a big pile of scrap metal out there, or I take the transmission out of the other one and put it in there. I can call and they'll help me put it back together. They're in United Kingdom, I do believe, UK. Okay, guys, thanks for watching this long. I'll pick this up in the morning.